In my previous Detective Conan videos, I introduced the growth and personality charms of the three main characters, Uncle Mori, Conan, and Haibara. But occasionally, there are some characters in Detective Conan who aren't the protagonist and only appear for around 10 minutes, but to the viewers, they can be even more impressive than the protagonist. This character is Detective Matsuda, who appeared in episode 304, The Trembling Police Headquarters, 12 Million Hostages. 7 years ago, Matsuda Jinpei was serving in the Police HQ Mobile Explosive Disposal Unit at the time. On one mission, the culprit placed 2 bombs in 2 different places. This brought Matsuda and his colleague, as well as friend Hagiwara Kenji, together to deal with this task. The bomb under the charge of Matsuda was quickly dismantled because of its simple structure, but the bomb under the charge of Hagiwara suddenly exploded, and as a result, he heroically died. 4 years later, in order to avenge his good friend, Matsuda shifted to Meguri's Division 1 Criminal Investigations to find the culprits who set up those bombs. Because every year in the past 3 years, a stranger has been sending unexplained faxes to this department. 3 years ago it was 3, 2 years ago it was 2, and 1 year ago it was 1, which when listening to it sounds like a countdown to a bomb. If Matsuda's deduction is correct, then the culprit who killed his friend is very likely to start operations again this year. So he temporarily cooperated with the police, but in fact, he quite hated the police. Because when he was a child, his father, who was a boxer, was arrested by the police despite being innocent, which also caused his father to lose his boxing match. This led to Matsuda using a rude tone of despise towards the officers when he first entered the station, which made them very angry. Inspector Meguri knows that Matsuda's personality makes it difficult for him to work with other male police officers. As a result, he was paired as a partner with Detective Sato, who has a relatively mild personality. Of course, in the beginning, Sato also disliked her new partner very much. When the two of them were debating, a new fax was sent to the office of the police station. This time, the fax was no longer a number, but a secret code. While the other policemen were still thinking about whether this was a joke or something, Detective Matsuda had already solved the code and knew that the bomb was on a Ferris wheel. For the safety of others, Matsuda asked the other officers to wait outside for him as he entered the operating Ferris wheel. At this time, the culprit detonated another bomb in the control room, which forced the Ferris wheel to stop, and also prevented the police support forces from reaching Matsuda's place. But to Matsuda, he was basically indifferent to this. His arrogance is due to his genius level of skill, so Detective Matsuda could have originally solved the bomb easily. However, the cunning culprit left another crime warning on the timer screen, which was the location of another bomb that will be displayed 3 seconds before the end of the countdown. If he cuts off the power of the bomb now, the crime warning will not be displayed. Now, there are only 2 options left for Matsuda. The first is to dismantle the bomb, allowing himself to live and becoming a hero, but not being able to know the location of the other bomb, which may cause more casualties. The second is to stay with the bomb for the last 3 seconds, and before it explodes, send a message to the other police officers to prevent another bomb from exploding. But as a result, he would die in the line of duty and wouldn't be able to avenge his friend. In that era, the communication function of mobile phones was not as powerful as they are now, and the battery power of those mobile phones was also insufficient, so it was impossible for a phone to video call there while you escape by yourself. When Matsuda faced these 2 options, he didn't hesitate to choose the second one, and just lit his last cigarette in the non-smoking Ferris wheel, and waited for the last 3 seconds to arrive. When the last 3 seconds came, Matsuda texted Detective Sato the location of the second bomb as quickly as possible and also added his own confession to her. From this moment on, this man became an indelible memory within Sato's heart. However, even after killing Detective Matsuda, the culprit was still not satisfied. This was because 7 years ago, he and his partner jointly planned a bomb crime. The two stopped the bomb after receiving the ransom money, but the broadcast on TV said that the bomb has not stopped. So his partner wanted to get out of the car and tell the police how to stop the bomb. But as a result, his friend was found when he called the police and when escaping, was hit and killed by a car. So as a result, the scoundrel thought that the police took advantage of his friend's kindness. To him, the police were the fiends who killed his friend. So in the following 7 years, he began to retaliate against the police. The reason why he showed the location of the next bomb on the bomb screen was to have the police protect themselves and abandon the safety of others, then later letting the media know that the police cherished their own safety more than the safety of the masses. But the opponents he met were Detective Matsuda and Conan with the main character buff. 4 years later in the present, the culprit planned to commit a similar crime. Finally, Conan and Detective Takagi used the first few words on the screen to guess the location of the second bomb and successfully prevented 2 explosions. After successfully arresting the culprit, Sato let go of Matsuda's death and deleted that last text message, as well as accepting Takagi. In fact, compared to Detective Matsuda, Detective Takagi, an honest and kind-hearted person, is more suitable for the tougher personality of Detective Sato. Not to mention, Matsuda has already passed away, and Sato should start a new life. But Matsuda's charm is too strong. This character, who only appeared for around 15 minutes, even the author of Detective Conan, Aoyama Gosho, rated him as the most handsome man in the show. To be honest, the first time I watched this episode, I was pretty angry, because in Detective Conan, there's already such a small number of powerful characters within the Japanese police force, and as a result, this ordinary culprit just killed 2 of them. But when I finished watching all the Detective Conan episodes and watched this episode for the second time, I felt a strong sense of incongruity. If the plot of a fictional work is reasonable enough, it can make the viewer feel immersed, as well as being able to make the viewer feel sad after the death of a character. But if the logic of the plot can't be consistent before and after, the viewer will realize that the life and death of certain characters in the show are just determined by the author, and the immersion and sadness will drop drastically. For example, Detective Matsuda was very smart among all the characters that had appeared within Detective Conan, but because of an explosion, he easily and heroically died. On the other hand, other characters, especially the children in the Detective Boys Club, have experienced countless explosions, kidnappings, and murders, but would never get injured at all. The reason why I didn't have this sense of dissonance when I watched it for the first time may be because I had just watched The Phantom of Baker Street. In that movie, whether it was Ron or the members of the Detective Boys Club, all of them have died once. So when I first watched it, I was quite worried if Detective Takagi would die like Matsuda. But when I watched it for the second time, there was no such feeling at all. That's because all the main characters in Detective Conan are like Superman, being perfectly protected by the author, especially those high popularity characters who can basically be said to be immortal. Furuyarei also proved in Detective Conan that as long as you're handsome, you can go from being an antagonist to being a protagonist. So this led me to feel like I was watching 2 different anime after watching all the episodes of Detective Conan. In any case, I hope that the author can let some of the main characters grow up and not become a burden, because according to an interview with Aoyama Gosho, in the time of 1000 episodes, only half a year has actually passed for them. So I wonder, why not let the Detective Boys grow up and enter the 2nd or 3rd grade? Or why not let the story continue even after Conan gets the antidote and becomes Shinichi again? All they would have to do is change the title from Detective Conan to Detective Shinichi.